You're listening to Alan Jones on 873 2GB.
I just want to go back to the story of last week because, conveniently, it's disappeared. Again, just imagine if this was John Howard or Tony Abbott. This is this climate change nonsense. Now, we know about the hoax that is climate change, and as part of that hoax, evidence is doctored, evidence is removed, people with a dissident view are not being heard. And there we were last June, with climate scientists at the ANU allegedly receiving threatening emails such that they had to be moved by the Vice-Chancellor, who currently, the Vice-Chancellor is our nation's chief scientist, one Mr Chubb. He wasn't the Vice-Chancellor then, I might add, but neither of these people should be in a job today, had to be moved, these scientists, to more secure buildings. So in other words, here were these poor little innocent climate scientists, mostly telling lies anyway, but there were people like me and others who were being portrayed as violent vigilantes, resorting to violence to silence them. So the poor little angels had to be shifted, or so the ABC and the Fairfax media told us last June. The ABC and Fairfax media, I might add, went missing last week. But as I said, do scientists require proof to validate what they say? No. Remove them to more secure buildings to ensure their safety. What was the threat? What was the risk? Well, as I said, thanks to a fellow by the name of Simon Turnell, Turnill, he wanted to find out what these emails were. Could he see them? What an impudent wretch this fellow is. Simon Turnell, he's on the line. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Alan. How are you?
We're very grateful to you.
Thank you.
I noticed the ABC and the Fairfax Press went missing last week.
Yeah, totally missing in action, yeah.
So you took out an FOI?
Yes, yeah, I did. As you know, the stories broke in June last year. The ABC, I think the Canberra Times splashed it on their Saturday edition on the 4th of June, and the ABC followed up, obviously.
And you said, I want to see the emails. Can I see the emails?
Yes. That's
where people are endangering the safety of our scientists. No, you can't, you were told.
I'm sorry?
You were told you couldn't see them.
That's correct. The ANU initially refused the Freedom of Information request application. They cited two grounds for that. Firstly, that releasing the emails would be a breach of privacy for the individuals involved. Well, that's fair enough, but I'm very happy for the names to be blanked out if necessary. The other ground that they tried to invoke was that releasing these emails may cause further threats of harm to the scientists involved, and I can kind of understand that point. But on the other hand, once the email has been sent, there's very little further that can be done, other than repeating it in print.
Well, thankfully, you're a fairly resilient individual and persistent, so you went to the Privacy Commission.
Yes, actually, well, my background is in science and in law, so I have a bit of an advantage there, and so I made an appeal to the Office of the Information Commissioner to appeal that decision, and it took a long time they have a huge workload apparently, and it was only a week or so ago that they handed down their decision in my favour.
So basically they found that 10 of the 11 emails, quote, do not contain threats to kill. But if these were death threats against climate scientists, why didn't the Australian National University ask police to investigate the alleged death threats?
Well, I think that's the key point. And I should say that I think this kind of abuse from either side is unacceptable. If you're in the public eye, you are going to receive these kind of crank emails. And politicians are well aware of this, and climate scientists, unfortunately, because it's an issue that's in the public eye at the moment. They're going to receive these kind of crank emails. But there's a subtle but important distinction between abuse and offensive language and threats to kill, because threats to kill, obviously is a serious criminal offence. It carries a significant jail term if you're found guilty. And I think there needs to be a distinction drawn between the usual kind of crank abuse emails that are sent.
But it was extravagant language, wasn't it? I mean, they were talking about, quote, a totally outrageous campaign against their staff.
Yeah, it was very emotive.
And the Federal Police said, basically, they weren't contacted by the university over the matter. One spokesman there said, as no complaints been received, no investigation has taken place. Now, the Vice-Chancellor at the time was this fellow Ian Young. He denounced what he called intolerable threats against his scientists. I mean, this is an academic and intelligent man.
Yeah, I'll leave others to speculate on the motivation for why this story was leaked, to the press back in June last year. I mean, if a university or an organisation wishes to run a story like that, then they should be prepared to back it up with the email evidence.
To provide the proof.
Exactly.
He said, this Ian Young, the Vice-Chancellor, quote, "These are issues where we should have a logical public debate, and it's completely intolerable that people be subjected to this sort of abuse and to threats like this. I think it's totally outrageous." But now they say, we can't say why we didn't make a complaint to the police. We didn't lodge it.
No, I think the reason is that there were no genuine threats to kill in those emails. I mean, there was abuse, and that should be, criticised and it should be condemned anyway. But there were no threats to kill in the strict sense of the word, and therefore there was nothing the AFP could investigate, and hence.
No, but there are senior people within the ANU who are saying that they hadn't even seen the emails.
Well, that's right. I mean, our chief scientist now,
Chubb.
he admitted in the Australian story that he hadn't actually read them. I think, but he claimed, reasonably that he was acting as a responsible employer dealing with.
I wonder what would have happened if I'd made those sorts of allegations which were proven baseless, or Tony Abbott.
Well,
or John.
There's a double standard at work, hasn't
Unbelievable.
it? Yeah.
Well, listen, who is this Simon Turnill? We're grateful to you.
Well, I run a climate blog called Australian Climate Madness.
Oh, well, you'll get some of these death threats now.
I'm sure I will, yeah.
And you've got a rather elegant accent, so how long have you been here?
I've been out here since 2003.
Right. It's taken you 9 years, and we still haven't got rid of that.
Say again?
It's taken 9 years, and we still haven't got rid of that. Do you say
right.
fair dinkum and yeah and all those sorts of things?
Well, I lapsed into the vernacular again.
You lapse. But I tell you what, you're running away from Britain at the right time, aren't they? In a bit of a mess.
Yeah, it's not looking good over in Europe.
Not looking good. Listen, well done. And
thank you.
It's interesting how the media have gone silent, though, on the lies that you unearthed, and we're grateful for that.
Thanks a lot.
Good to talk to you, Simon.
Cheers, Andrew.
Here he is. And where are we on all of that, eh? If it had been someone else, what would have happened? Simon Turnill,